And I'm a little bit of a pincer movement here where I have zealots from the north, stalkers from the south. My 3 stalkers handily take care of his 1 stalker, while my zealots give his zealots the runaround. I want to engage his zealots with all of my units at once for maximum efficiency. But in the time that it's taken me to group up like that, he's brought his own 3 stalkers in. So this is his zealots versus my damaged zealots and my stalkers. So his stalkers are remaining out of the fight. His zealots do manage to polish off my stalkers nicely there. And he eventually gets all of his units in the fight and pushes me back. So now I'm a little worried because my natural expansion is a little undefended. So I'm putting on a forge, a little late for that to get some photon cannons out, but you know, that's my reflex here. Move is to get a forge so I can eventually get photon cannons. And definitely to macro up what I can. Now, one unit I am building though is, I did get a robotics facility and I'm now building an immortal. And immortals are fantastic. They're very effective units that take reduced damage from anything that hits above for 10 hit points at once. That hit their shield only hits for 10. Additionally, their guns are extremely effective against armored targets like the stalkers. That said, my opponent is hitting my expansion with overwhelming force, and he's going to take out the defenders here. What he will not do, however, is push into my weakly defended expansion and the probes that are there. I'm going to basically manage to hold him off here. He's not going to exploit the advantage he has right now. I will fortunately, however, get some photon cannons up as he starts working on my buildings. And then here comes the first immortal. So now watch how this immortal deals damage to these stalkers here, and I've put the hit point bars up. It only takes like 4 or 5 hits for an immortal to work through a stalker. Like 1 hit and the shields go down. In fact, it might even be 3 hits. That stalker does an extra 30 damage per attack against armored targets like the stalkers. So they're really no match for him in a fight. See here again, stalker's just going to lay into these, or the immortal's just going to lay into these stalkers. I'm going to snipe his damaged stalker once he brings it back in, and now I have my second immortal up here, along with a zealot and an observer. This is going to force his stalkers to retreat. So he's giving ground. But yeah, the offensive firepower of the immortal against these stalkers is quite amazing. Definitely becoming one of my favorite units. So you'll note the immortal here does 20 damage with its phase disruptors, plus 30 versus armored targets. It's quite a difference. So I'm definitely stockpiling on these guys. My opponent, meanwhile, has gotten up an expansion. He's also continuing to build stalkers from his gateways. This is probably not going to go so well if I keep spamming immortals like I have. See my immortals making short work of those reinforcements. And so I'm basically going to push my opponent's base with a mixture of immortals and zealots, while he will try to defend with some stalkers. This photon cannon will also go down very easily to my immortals, as they also do good damage for structures. You can see here the stalker hit points on his shields are generating very quickly. You'll note that Protoss units in Starcraft 2, their shields actually regenerate differently than Starcraft 1. They're almost like shields in Halo, where the shields regenerate not at all while you're being damaged, but then once you're out of combat they regenerate very fast. So here you can see my stalkers firing, not that effectively against the zealots, so I have to pull back here against these two, but very effectively against the stalkers, which I then start to focus fire. Decide to leave the zealots for later once my own zealots have arrived and I've already taken care of those stalkers. My opponent has built a bunch of gateways, but I think it's too little too late. He's also started researching various techs like charge and ground weapon upgrades, but I'm just going to lay into his buildings here and take them out pretty fast. I also identify that all of his gateways are being powered by a single pylon. In StarCraft 2, you will notice that pylons only have 200 shield and 200 health, which is a lot less than pylons do in StarCraft 1. So powering all of your buildings with just to 1 or 2 pylons is not a good idea. These zealots are fairly effective against stalkers, but only at cost, not at equal numbers. Zealots only cost 100 crystal, stalkers cost 250 and 100 gas. So I suppose if you had about 2.5 zealots per stalker, it'd be a decent counter, but not when you've only got a couple. At this point, the game's pretty much over. I hope you learned a couple things about various unit matchups in Protoss vs. Protoss, or how a single early photon cannon can deny your opponent access to your base to push up those ramps. Many maps that are available at this point do feature ramps leading up to players' bases. And here Pukes comments on how Immortals are strong against Stalkers, and that is absolutely correct. They are very strong against Stalkers and buildings. Well, I hope you liked watching this replay. I'm going to be doing more of these. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't, and tell me that you enjoyed it. That will be my motivation for doing more. So definitely comment on this and give me some feedback. Thanks. Once again, this is Volty out, and I'll see you again soon.